Hello, fellow researchers and friends. My name is Purvesh Shah, and today I'll be introducing to a research whereby we are developing a novel method called the LaMPS method, a pedagogy for young designers to help them develop sustainable products for a distributed economy context. Before we begin, I would like to give you a background about the domain of distributed economy. The concept was initially developed to respond to the unsustainable large scale production and to enable local small scale production catering to local market needs. It has three elements for design processes, which are local materials, local skills, and local practices. There is a shift in focus for design for sustainability pedagogy from the technical and product centric focus towards more socio technical systems, wherein people, their interactions, and behavior play a crucial role. Scholarships in DFS have introduced a multitude of frameworks for sustainability orienting design. These have become increasingly complex and involving multitudes of cross disciplinary actors, stakeholders with varied interests, and sustainability orienting design parameters. While teaching these DFS methods to students at IIT Guwahati, we found that students being boggled down with the weight of the systemic future nature and the nature of interacting parameters. We also found that our current teaching approach was sustainability as a criteria for design. There is a need to consider sustainability as a context for design. Another challenge we saw was the students, being novice designers, were following DFS guidelines more mechanically. We wanted them to approach DFS in an imaginative and inventive way, using an immersive mode, the designerly way. Thus, we posed our research questions as follows. How can we teach sophomore design students a methodology wherein design is looked as a dimension in sustainability framework? How can we teach designing products by embracing local materials, practices, and skills at the starting point of the design process? Third was how to teach DFS in a designerly way to design by dwelling in an immersive mode where engagement, contemplation, aesthetic desire, emotions, and inventive thinking take predominance. Moving on to the development of pedagogy, we considered the key competencies which have been proposed by the previous researchers. These include systems thinking, empathy and change of perspective, personal involvement, and tolerance for ambiguity. We considered not to introduce sustainability and system design as a theoretical lecture, but built in methodology component to direct them towards these key competencies. Moving on, I introduce to you the LAMPS method. We've divided the method into four broad stages, which are understand, observe, explore, and conceptualize. The three key elements of distributed economy which bring in sustainability benefits are local materials, local practices, and local skills. In the understand phase, areas for interventions are decided where users, their constraints, and the problem areas are decided. In the observe phase, students begin by understanding the context, visiting the places, and the users. Although DFS largely revolves around the tangible, we contemplated on intangibles in this phase. This phase helped us secure a high degree of personal involvement, which is one of the key competencies as we have discussed earlier. In explore phase, we brought in what Cross famously calls as the designerly ways of knowing, thinking, and acting. The students were encouraged to experiment, imagine, draw parallels, synthesize in a creative space. The students understood the materials using a material driven design approach. The focus was on systemically exploring both the physical and experiential traits of the material. This helped us to introduce students to ambiguity, and slowly they started to develop a resilience to these ambiguities. In the tinkering phase, the students were given local raw materials and wastes. Further studies with the material involved understanding of technical and experiential properties by making composites. They also conducted material benchmarking by going through the existing literature. In conceptualized phase, the designer reflects on the context, picks one sample, and integrates it with the local skills and practices to create intervention vision and product solution. This goes on as an iterative process. The key questions in this phase are: what should the material do? What practices to embed? What skills can be leveraged? Here we have leveraged system thinking and empathetic thinking from the core competencies. I would next like to present to you the works of the three groups of students who designed products using the LaMPS method. These students were sophomore undergraduate students of IIT Guwahati. The method was introduced to them as first course on design methodology as a week-long workshop. The students were already equipped with knowledge and skills of making product, but were not aware of the creative process. The initial brief was given to students to work with the local communities and study their constraints with water, since potability is a big issue in Assam. The students were already given the users, constraints, and the problem area. The understand phase was broadly defined rather than completely keeping it open ended, since we only had 1 week and this was their first encounter with design projects. The students then went to the local communities and followed the LaMPS method. The photographs of the documentation are here. They also involved in the material exploration phase and tinkered with the materials to build composites, which were then tested out to bring out the experiential characterization. Next, I would like to describe to you the three products that were made after the workshop. First one is Cleansy, which is a water purifier made out of bamboo stick and rice. It has a netted bag containing aluminium, which is helpful in the sedimentation process of purification. It embeds the local skill of churning of milk. The rice gives a material experience, a soothing and calming effect when rubbed between hands. The materials used are locally available and the product can also be built easily in households. The second product, Connecting Communities, is an affordable thermos for newborn babies who require warm water. It embeds the material which bring together three communities of rag pickers, carpenters, and handicraft workers. It uses insulating properties of materials with a deceiving look. Third product, which is a Sasta Sundar Tikau carry bag, envisions a low-cost, beautiful bag made using jute and styrofoam. It can also be used as a night lamp because of its properties as discovered during the technical characterization. The colorful bag is appealing for the local communities and embeds local waste, which is the styrofoam and the polyethylene bags. In the post-workshop interviews with the students, the feedback and outcome was positive. The LaMPS method proved to be a practical guide to design locally embedded products. The method places the students outside their comfort zones and into the contemplative, experimentative, and the immersive designerly zone. Some of the quotes from the students, some of the quotes from the student interviews post the workshop are also here. The students sought guidance for initiating the tinkering process, but then gradually opened up and started working in a fluid space. It was interesting to see how students tailored the stages to their needs. For example, the process of ideation started at different stages for different teams. They revisited the field if they felt the need and put varying amount of stress on different stages of the process, indicating that they need some amount of flexibility in the process. The students came up with innovative and locally grounded solutions and also later extrapolated their learnings to other projects. This batch of students is now in the fourth year of study. We also discussed certain limitations with the process. First of all, being the time. The students just had 1 week for working on the project from start to finish, a mammoth challenge. To understand the practices and their interconnections with behavioral and social settings require significant amount of time frame and experience. Also in this workshop, the stress was greater on the material exploration phase. We need to further explore how designers can be aided to systematically design different kinds of practices in a community, analyze the data, and map them selectively to a product idea. Also, LaMPS as a whole will be further developed and tested in context of design for distributed economy for professional designers as well. Thank you.